Game Pass continues to shine, even looking forward into June. We have an interesting story here about the Nintendo Switch 2 and the fact that it could be basically turned into a paperweight. The minds and the studio behind Ori and the Blind Forest, they're in trouble. And it is because they're not getting great reviews for their most recent game, No Rest for the Wicked. So we will talk about those stories plus some other things. But before we do get into it, if you enjoy daily gaming news content every single day, make sure to hit the subscribe, share the video, like it, all of that stuff. I see many of you who do watch here on a daily basis are not subscribed. So would appreciate it if you did hit the subscribe button. So Game Pass has obviously been phenomenal. It's kicking off again this week with Doom: The Dark Ages, which is going to be one of the biggest games released this year. Getting that into Game Pass day one is awesome. And if you're a fan of the series, I'm sure you're looking forward to it. If you're not, or you haven't played it and you want to check it out, I would highly recommend it. They are very, very fun games. As you can see in the background, have my Doom: The Dark Ages Collector's Edition. I unboxed it, so go check out that video on my channel. The statue and everything that comes with it is awesome. It is a really cool collector's edition overall. There's not too much stuff in it, which is what I like, where they give you stuff that's actually good rather than just a bunch of stuff that's thrown in that nobody really cares about. But very excited for this game. Unlocks May 12th for people who have the premium edition, May 15th for everybody else, day one into Xbox Game Pass. But this is May, and May has been good. We're looking forward here to June. I think June will also be very good, especially because we do have the Xbox Games Showcase coming up, and we're going to get announcements for Game Pass games, day one games, whether that's first party or third party. There will be those types of announcements there, and I wonder how many of those will be dropping in the month of June. There usually is something that does come out and is announced at the Xbox June Showcase in a short period of time. But here is what we know right now for June. It's already looking good. We really haven't had a bad month here with Game Pass this year. It has probably been the best year ever, and I think it will continue to be like that as we move through to the second half of 2025. But here's what we're getting. And honestly, this is awesome already. The Alters, which is a game, it is a day one game. It is a sci-fi game with survival and base building and stuff where you go through different alternative versions of yourself. It's a very cool one. I would definitely recommend going to check out the trailer one that when they first showed it off, I thought was very unique. It's something that I had on my radar. Then we have FBC Firebreak, which is from Remedy, which we don't really expect them to make these styles of games, but it is in the Control universe and everything, and it is a co-op first-person shooter, which I think looks like it is going to be a ton of fun, and this is absolutely the most perfect game here for Game Pass, just to get a bunch of people who potentially would have never heard about this game or even given it a chance to discover it and try it out, and then it may catch on. You've seen multiplayer games catch on because of Xbox Game Pass, and this could be one of them. I have faith that Remedy is going to make a pretty decent game here, so I am excited to check this one out here with FBC Firebreak. That's coming on June 17th. Then we have a Rematch, which is coming on June 19th, and this game has already been in their beta and alpha testing and everything, and it is from Slow Clap, who made Sifu, which is an awesome game. It is a soccer game, though. It's a 5v5 fast-paced, competitive soccer game that everybody who's been playing it so far, you've seen a bunch of clips go viral as well, are saying it is very, very fun. And I think this one is going to take off. I feel like this is going to be one of those games that is going to be big. We're going to see a lot of gameplay footage pop up and just spread via word of mouth because of the cool stuff that does happen and just like the hype moments, I guess you could say, with a game like this. I'm actually really excited for Rematch. I will enjoy playing it. It looks like it is going to be a ton of fun. Then we have this one here, Against the Storm, which is coming to console. I believe this was on PC previously, but this is a city builder game. And they say it's a dark fantasy city builder where you must rebuild civilization in the face of apocalyptic rain. So if you like city builders, this one that was already on PC is now coming to the Xbox Series X and S and Xbox One. So I guess technically it is a day one console game. But the reality is Game Pass already, just with those games that we know are coming in June, again, is looking like it's going to be a very, very good month. So I hope they can keep this up. This pace is wild. I do believe they have enough studios to be able to keep this up, and they do have enough deals probably in the works from third party, and then obviously indie games, which I think are some of the best in the industry. Like for example, Clair Obscure Expedition 33, I think, is going to be Game of the Year, and are at least nominated for Game of the Year, and that's an indie. So there's so much out there that drops in the Game Pass all the time, and this year so far has been just absolutely phenomenal. And hopefully, as we go through to the end of the year, it will continue to be huge. My biggest thing here is I wonder if we're going to get a replacement for Fable for Game Pass Day One at the end of 2025, and what game is that going to be? Like, is Clockwork Revolution ready? Could it be that? Could it be Gear Z Day, which we've been hearing a lot of rumors about? Who knows what it is, but I'm sure we will know in just a few weeks now at the Xbox June showcase. All right, we have some news to update here from what happened last week, which was games media. It's falling apart. Like a lot of game media websites, some of the big ones that, if you've been following the industry for a very long time, I have been. These were huge websites back in the day, such as Polygon and Giant Bomb, and they both were in a lot of trouble as things were closing down. Polygon was sold, and Giant Bomb, their own podcast and everything, they had to make changes, and that was because fandom had stepped in there and said that there's going to be content changes. But we do have an update for this. Is a nice update for Giant Bomb fans, for independent game media and all that. It has now been confirmed that Giant Bomb has actually been sold by fandom and will continue independently, bringing it back to its roots where it was probably the best, right? And it hopefully we'll get back to that now that it is independent again. They don't have to answer to the corporate overlords that are telling them the type of content that they want to see and all of that. But during PAX East, a panel showed up there, and this was Jeff Grubb, Jeff Bakalar, Dan Reichert, Mike Minotti, and Jan Ochoa, who are now the co-owners of Giant Bomb. Fandom said, we will sell you this. They bought it, and here's what they say. Giant Bomb is now owned by the people who make Giant Bomb, and it would not have been possible without the speedy efforts of fandom and our mutual agreement on what's best for fans and creators. And that is said here by Jeff Grubb and Jeff Bakalar. And they say the future of Giant Bomb is now in the hands of our supporting community who have always had our backs no matter what. We'll have a lot more to say about what this looks like soon, but for now, everyone could trust that all the support we receive goes directly to the team. So this comes just after where a lot of people were wondering what was going to happen to the website, to the content. You had lots of social media posts. A deal has been struck here. Obviously, they didn't put any numbers to that deal, so we don't know how much this thing was actually sold for. But the reality is, it's bringing it back to independent media. And I think in gaming specifically, independent media is where things are mainly going. It is going to be the place where most people like enjoying and catching up on news and seeing what is happening within the industry. A lot of people just don't trust the major sites anymore. The IGNs, the Kotakus, the Polygons, the GameSpots. A lot of people do not trust those sites anymore. And while I am in that camp to an extent, I do think there are good people who do good things at those websites. But you generally, when you see disdain for those things, it sweeps everybody into the same pot, which I don't think is completely fair. But the reality is, independent media does a lot of things better. People do trust it more now. Going forward now, Giant Bomb is going to be able to work independently away from the people over them, telling them exactly how they want to do their content. So we'll see what comes out of it. Pretty cool. I remember listening to Giant Bomb and everything way back too. So it's nice to see it get back to its independent roots. All right, next up, we have an announcement for fighting game fans. This is one that I'm not surprised, but it's cool to see that it is happening. Virtua Fighter 5 REVO is now coming to multiple platforms, coming to the PlayStation 5, the Xbox Series X and S, and the Nintendo Switch 2. This game was originally released here back in January on Steam for PC. And now it is coming out here for the other consoles with cross-play support, rollback netcode, and new content. They say, since Virtua Fighter 5 REVO's launch, we've heard your request for multi-platform support via the official VF Discord and other channels. And we on the development team want to give users on all platforms the opportunity to enjoy Virtua Fighter 5 REVO. So we are happy to bring you this announcement. So they're bringing it out to the other consoles, obviously trying to get more players into it. It is a very smart move. It's cool that we're seeing that big revitalization of the fighting games, like all of the ones that have been coming out, Fatal Fury coming out and everything. So cool to see these games coming back. Virtua Fighter 6, I wonder when that one is going to drop. And the Nintendo Switch 2 now is being thrown in here with just regular announcements. So the Switch 2 is continuously put more out there. June 5th is when that drops, and we'll see all of the big AAA games, I think, landing on the Nintendo Switch 2. meaning more competition here for PS5 and Xbox Series X and S in terms of where people want to go ahead and play the games, just because that also has that portability factor. All right, and speaking of the Nintendo Switch 2, they're doing something here has a lot of people annoyed, outraged. This is not surprising at all. This is Nintendo. They do stuff like this, and this is all because of what happened, I believe, with the Nintendo Switch 1, where the piracy was through the roof. If you have the original Nintendo Switch, I believe they tried to update it and fix it with other iterations of it. Not sure how well that did work, but there is a new terms of service here, restrictions here could turn your Nintendo Switch 2 basically into a paperweight if you mod your console, or they say uninstall any unauthorized games. This is what the new policy is warning. In fact, the new user account and user license agreement that was sent out earlier says that it makes some significant changes to the second section license. And specifically, they outline here that the Nintendo account services can refer to everything made available to you via your Nintendo account, from games to DLC to products, apps, services, and more. And previously, the license section outlined that users are not allowed to lease, rent, sublicense, publish, copy, modify, adapt, translate, reverse engineer, decompile, or disassemble all or any portion of the Nintendo account services without Nintendo's written consent, or unless otherwise expressly permitted by applicable law. And now, with the latest change, they are removing sub-license and adding offer for sale or create derivative works of any portion of the Nintendo account services to its list of all of the forbidden actions. And basically, the additions aren't stopping there, stating here that users must not bypass, modify, decrypt, defeat, tamper with, or otherwise circumvent any of the functions or protections of the Nintendo account services, including through the use of any hardware or software that would cause the Nintendo account services to operate other than in accordance with its documentation and intended use. A lot of complicated stuff there, but basically they are cracking down on Switch emulation, and not surprising. I don't know why anybody would be shocked by this. This is basic stuff here from these companies that don't want you emulating their games on the platform that they are providing. They want you to go out there and spend the money to buy the game. So it's not really that shocking of a thing for them to do, but it's, I think, really all stems from the Nintendo Switch 1 and how much emulation was on that. People cracking it. You didn't have to buy Nintendo Switch games. You could pretty much get them all via emulation. People were doing that, so they're going in here and trying to make sure that doesn't happen. I'm sure there are so many more security things here with the Nintendo Switch 2 that will make it harder for hackers to crack this thing, to be able to go ahead and emulate Switch 2 games on it and to download them and everything. But somebody will end up doing it. That's just the reality of it. The hackers and the people who crack these things are always kind of one step ahead of these major companies, and they always end up doing it. So we'll see. Maybe I'm wrong. I just feel like it will happen. Maybe it won't happen right away, kind of like it did with the Switch. It may take a bit longer, but it will end up happening in one way or another. I always think about piracy in the sense that people who are pirating games, most of them, not all of them, probably weren't going to go buy the game anyway. So I don't know how much money and stuff that these companies are actually losing out on. People who want to pick up the games don't want to spend the time doing the hacking stuff. They're not even going to bother with it anyways. They're going to go buy it. So I don't know how much it makes a difference, but I can understand companies wanting as well to protect themselves from people doing that. All right. And finally, this is a very interesting one, in my opinion. Ori and the Blind Forest Studio, Moon Studios, Thomas Mahler, who is the head of the studios, is saying that they could be forced to shut down due to the impact of negative Steam reviews for No Rest for the Wicked. Kind of crazy to think that negative reviews could end up shutting down a studio that has had some big hits, sold a lot of copies of their games, but now all of a sudden these negative reviews on Steam completely end them. But here is what they say about this. Here is what it is saying about this. They say here specifically that No Rest for the Wicked sits on mixed reviews on Steam, users complaining about various aspects of the game's design. Punishing difficulty aside, many users are expecting quality of life features and more clarity of in-game on certain mechanics, and others lament the game's slant towards grinding materials. Moon Studios founder and lead Thomas Mahler recently commented on the impact, and he says this: I think people think I'm joking when I'm asking for positive reviews because in people's minds, there's always some big publisher in the background who'll cover costs. Folks, if you're writing here and enjoying Wicked and are excited for future updates but haven't left a positive review, it's entirely possible that we won't be around in a couple of months to do anything anymore simply because we got review bombed, which leads to people not buying the game, which means we're not making any money and we'll have to shut down. I wouldn't ask if our business wouldn't be dependent on it. I also never write reviews on anything, but if you want to see us actually finish Wicked, it's detrimental that we get that review score back up. So he insinuates here that the company is in financial danger if they don't get the review scores up. Now, he does go ahead and update it later, which this was my initial thought when reading this, is that he's got to be exaggerating here. There's no way a bunch of positive reviews are all of a sudden going to save Moon Studios. If they are in this deep of financial trouble right now, nothing is going to save them. Nowhere's for the Wicked looked very cool. It has absolutely fallen under the radar. I don't know how popular it is right now. Obviously not popular enough. I don't know how a bunch of positive reviews on Steam are all of a sudden going to pull the studio out of the dire situation it's in if it was about to close down. There's so many more games coming out right now. The hype cycle, the marketing cycle for this is completely gone. They can revitalize it maybe if they do a really big update and people start talking about it and it jumps up on top of selling lists, and maybe there's a sale and then it moves up to the top of the sales list. I just don't know how many positive reviews would make a big difference from saving the studio. And in fact, he kind of admits that he was exaggerating. On May 11th, Thomas Muller since then has claimed that the company is in no immediate financial danger. So although he made it sound like the studio would potentially be closed down because of review bombing, the company is in no immediate financial danger, which to me is good because I love Moon Studios. I love the games that they create. Ori was one of my favorite platformers, so I would never want to see them go away. But this obviously just sound like to me that it was an over exaggeration to try to push some more positive reviews on Steam. This may backfire a little bit. People may look at that as another reason to review bomb. Hopefully not. But the thing with review bombing is that, and campaigns to destroy games, is that I think it really only works if there's actually something wrong with the game. If the studio developing it isn't giving the gamers what they truly want, what they've promised in terms of game mechanics, things are just broken in it. Because we've seen review bombings happen on games that were good, or attempted review bombings happen on games that ended up being very good, and it did not work. It actually had the opposite effect. So there's obviously stuff wrong with this game. Hopefully they can get it together and hopefully it does come back, and then they'll start getting positive reviews for it. But on the video there, if you did enjoy this video, hit that thumbs up. If you are new here, hit that subscribe, and I will catch you guys in the next video.